Most people believe building lasting wealth is a lifelong uphill battle. But here's what nearly everyone misses. Your first million is the slowest. It's your second million that can come at lightning speed. According to Vanguard, over the last century, the S&P 500 has averaged about 10% annual returns, which transforms the path to your next million into something radically different and much shorter than what you're expecting. If you're a mid-career investor or you've saved for years but feel stuck while your wealth crawls along, this video is built for you. I'm going to reveal the exact three-phase journey that turns the first million from a marathon into a sprint for the second, and how thousands of disciplined investors are seeing progress faster than ever. Stick around and I'll prove with real numbers and stories why your money can start working exponentially harder than you do. Everyone talks about the first million, how hard it is, how long it takes, and how it feels like an endless grind. You've probably heard older investors say, the first million is the hardest, and that's 100% true. But almost no one tells you what happens right after, how much faster the second million comes, and why it isn't just more of the same long slog. If you're here because you've saved for years, stuck to the plan, and still feel like you're moving in slow motion, this is for you. Let's start by debunking the biggest myth. Most people imagine that building wealth after the first million just means repeating the same slow formula, taking decades to double up again, penny by penny, investment by investment. But that's not how it really works. The second million is much closer than you think. The first million is painfully slow, not just because of the math, but because you're learning everything at once. You're figuring out your spending, your saving, how to resist lifestyle creep, how to pay down debt, and how to choose investments. It feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Rarely does anyone have a map. Most people are figuring it out as they go, making mistakes, adjusting, sometimes getting a lucky break from a wise family member or mentor, but more often learning the lessons the hard way. Here's a real scenario. I know a family, single income, 3 kids, never earned more than $75,000 a year. It took them 27 years to hit their first million, an exhausting test of patience, discipline, and trial and error. But here's the shocker. Just 18 months later, they crossed $1.5 million. Right now, their target is $3 million in 7 years. And so far, they're right on track. That isn't luck. That's acceleration. Let's anchor all this in reality with numbers. Imagine a household earning $75,000 per year, putting just 20% away into a broad market index fund like the S&P 500, which, according to Vanguard's 2023 data, has historically averaged close to 10% annual returns since 1926. After 5 years of consistent investing, their portfolio might be near $100,000. After 10 years, about $250,000. After 15 years, over $500,000. And after just over 20 years, $1 million, assuming they started with nothing. It's a grind, and most of the progress in the first decade comes purely from your own contributions. Early on, portfolio gains feel microscopic. Even a 10% market jump might net just a few $1,000s. Your effort is pulling all the weight. This is where discipline is forged. Every small milestone, paying off a credit card, increasing a monthly savings rate, or resisting the urge to upgrade your car, lays the track for everything that comes later. You're building habit, learning to bounce back from mistakes, and slowly gaining confidence that this is crazy. Compounding thing might actually pay off. This is what I call phase 1, the foundation. Have you ever felt like your savings progress is just too slow? Comment below with your biggest frustration. Let's see how many of us are feeling this same pain. Now, as you finally approach the first million, something subtle yet profound starts to change. Compounding stops being theoretical and starts becoming powerful. Suddenly, you aren't fighting for every dollar, even modest market movements. Again, say 10%, based on long-term averages, turn into real results. A 10% move on $1 million? That's $100,000 in a single year. That number is no longer a rounding error. Suddenly, every time you check your account, it's moving up in sizable, meaningful leaps. But here's where most people make a mistake that can cost them years. They think the second million will take just as long. But in fact, this is where the math flips in your favor. I'll show you exactly why in a minute. But first, let me walk you through a true wealth milestone timeline from my own circle. First million at age 48, the second at 52, the third at 56, the fourth at 57. Right now, income never above $150,000. All they did was save aggressively and stick with index funds and boring old mutual funds. In a single decade after hitting $1 million, their net worth tripled. Think about that. It took nearly 20 years to reach the first million, but just 10 years to get the next two. This brings us to what I call phase 2, the inflection. Here are the main ingredients: consistent contributions, a portfolio large enough for compounding to start doing the heavy lifting, and the mental shift that comes from seeing actual momentum. The reason the growth curve bends upward is simple. Your investment returns are now adding more than you do. Crunch the numbers. With a $1 million portfolio continuing to earn 10% annually. Again, that's the Vanguard-cited S&P 500. Long-term annualized return. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Plus ongoing savings, the second million can arrive within 7 to 8 years. That time frame does depend on income, savings rate, and what happens in the markets. A bear market could delay things. A raging bull could accelerate it. But the principle holds, even if your income is under $75,000 or your savings rate dips closer to 10%, the rule applies. The second million always comes faster because now your money is working for you. But that's just the math. The mental game gets even more powerful. Once you've crossed the million mark, you've seen compounding in action. You stop panicking on every market dip. You're less likely to chase risky investments or overreact on bad news because you know the system works if you stick with it. Want more power? You now have negotiating leverage at work, peace of mind during tough times, and the ability to walk away from toxic environment. You can take smarter risks, like investing in your own business. Confidence fuels consistency, and that consistency feeds back into compounding, short-circuiting the urge to self-sabotage. For full transparency, here's my personal timeline. I got married to someone earning about what I did. Started with about $600,000 combined. Hit $2 million in less than 6 years. Then $3 million just 2 years later, thanks in part to a strong bull market, especially in our tech holdings. Of course, luck plays a role here. The harder you work, the luckier you get. Had we hit a deep bear market, this would look different. Maybe better, maybe worse. This is phase 3, the acceleration. With a $2 million portfolio averaging 10% return, that's $200,000 in annual growth, before adding any new savings. The jump from $2 million to $3 million can happen in as little as 3 to 4 years. From there, if markets cooperate, $3 million can turn into $3.3 million, $3.6 million, and so on. You phase 3, each leap getting shorter as long as you remain disciplined. Here's something to remember. You don't need to double your effort to get your second million. Your money is now doubling down for you. Let's talk inflation. Are these numbers inflation adjusted? No, but here's the thing. Over the 3 to 4 years it might take for a $2 million portfolio to grow to $3 million. Inflation's bite is relatively minimal compared to decades-long time frames. Plus, as your earnings and experience rise, your contributions usually increase too. If anything, more income and lower expenses mean even more momentum on top. But why do most people never get to this acceleration phase? It's usually not because it's impossible. It's because they quit right before the curve speeds up. They start spending more, lose patience, or simply stop making new contributions just as compounding is about to do its best work. I've met people who hit $2 million, stopped contributing, and retired just 5 years after making their first million. 10 months after retiring, their portfolio was still growing, even with zero new savings. That's the reality. In periods of market growth, portfolios can accelerate even when you're done contributing. And as noted by Fidelity and Vanguard, retirees with solid investment habits can still see their net worth increase for years after they stop working, especially if markets are strong and withdrawals are modest. If you want a one-page roadmap breaking down the 3 phases to your second million, the checklist I use personally is linked in the bucket video description. Download it and map out your timeline. Wondering how much you should be saving and in which account types for maximum acceleration? I'm breaking down those strategies next video. So, hit subscribe and let me know your biggest second million question in the comments. Remember, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Market returns are unpredictable, and there's always risk. This is educational, not investment advice. Consult a certified financial advisor for a personal plan. Let's bust a few common myths. Myth: if I miss a few years, I can never catch up. Yenten: if I do the consistency after the first million often matters more than a perfect early start. Myth: I'll reach my goals faster if I jump to riskier assets and filling. If I stew this up, said run whipper out what Lee a second. Proven vehicles like index funds keeps you in the game when the compounding curve heats up. Myth: it's too late for me. Fact: I've seen people start seriously in their faith 40s and still reach 7 figures by their late 50s. Now, wherever you are on your wealth journey, halfway to $1 million, just hitting your stride, or already within touching distance of that second milestone. Here's what matters most. Every dollar you invest today is an exponential seed. Progress starts slow, but the closer you get to that first million, the more your money and your discipline start working overtime. Wealth does not grow in a straight line. It bends upward. The first million tests your patience, discipline, and optimism. Once you cross that milestone, the curve steepens. Every decision, every extra dollar, every saved expense gives compounding more to work with. So, if you're saving, investing, and wondering if it's worth all the effort, trust me, it is. The second million is closer than you think, and it's waiting. Stick with the process. Download the checklist in the description. Subscribe to Mark Invests for practical breakdowns like this, and let's destroy the myth of slow, impossible wealth growth together. The second million isn't just a dream. It's your next destination. Let's recap. Building wealth to your first million is about discipline, patience, and learning through trial and error. What I called phase 1. The foundation. Hitting the $1 million mark is not just a jump number, it's an inflection point. In phase 2, the inflection, your money begins compounding fast enough that it outpaces your contribution and you start to feel real momentum. In phase 3, acceleration, your portfolio's growth can snowball. What once took decades now happens in a handful of years, with every investment decision multiplying your room. Progress. Here's what I want you to do next. First, comment below with your biggest savings, frustration, or question. I want to hear it. Next, download the free 3-phase checklist linked in the description to map out your own milestones. That checklist gives you clear markers for where you are and what to focus on. Next, finally, subscribe to Mark Invests for more step-by-step breakdowns of proven strategies with numbers, timelines, and myth-busting answers. If you're starting today, focus on your monthly saving rate and automate it. Consider using budgeting tools like Mint or YNZAB. Over the next 30 to 90 days, aim to reach or maintain at least a 15 to 20% savings rate and review your investment allocations to ensure you're tracking with your goals. In the long run, check in on your net worth every 6 to 12 months. Benchmark your progress against the 3 phases and adjust as needed using the checklist. Depending on your income and market returns, you might see real compounding acceleration within 5 to 10 years. And in many cases, your second million can arrive in half the time of your first, sometimes even less. Getting there isn't magic, it's discipline, and you're already on the right path. If you found this valuable, subscribe and turn on notifications. Next video, I'll reveal how to structure your accounts for maximum acceleration and risk control, citing exact index fund returns from the past 50 years. Comment your top money question for 2024 below. It might be featured in our next breakdown. Remember, none of this is financial advice. This is for education only. Consult a credentialed advisor before making investment decisions. All investing carries risk, and past performance does not guarantee your future results.